All right. Good morning, and hello to everybody joining us. I am getting now the go that we can go ahead and get right started. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another videocast series from Opinio. This time around, we have the amazing Gabriela joining us, our team lead for research consulting. Gabriela, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Hussein. I'm really happy to be finally here on this stage with you. So really happy to have such an interesting presentation today and join you here.
I'm super excited for us to get started in the series. Get holiday ready. So we all know Q4 is coming up, and Q4 is one of the busiest period for brands and businesses everywhere. So we thought, what better way to get started and kickstart this period than with a series on how to get holiday ready. Our main mission here at Opinio is to make sure we can be your modern day research partner. And of course, that mission has different steps, and there's different aspects to being a modern day research partner. The first being making sure we have an amazing team of research experts, one of which Gabriela is part of, that can guide you as our partners, that can make sure you're getting the best possible service, making sure we have the best developers and product teams that can make sure we have the tech and the latest tech in the market research world so that we can provide you with la crème de la crème. And a third integral part is what we're doing right here, making sure our partners can gain the research knowledge and making sure research can be digestible, accessible, and easy to use by everyone. So we're kicking off this series right now with the very first episode in this 4 week, in this four part episode with Beyond Demographics, the power of psychographics and target group identification. But right before we jump into this very specific session, Gabriela, when we spoke a little bit about this series and about how we're going to do this series in Q4 and talk to our partners about how they can better prepare for Q4, I remember you got very excited for the idea and you really liked the idea. So I really wanted to ask you now, in front of our entire audience, why do you think we need to go ahead and do this?
Well, Hussein, let me start this way. So last week I got a surprise visit from one of my best friends, and she and her husband actually founded a startup 6 years ago. And she was telling me how the business is going, and that after some years now, finally they're making some money and have some leftover budget for these really important things like marketing and market research. So you need to know that they both studied business, or what we call BWL in German. So they know a little bit about everything, not so much about market research. So I was just telling her, okay, if you need any help, anything, just let me know. And she was like, oh, honey, we don't need tips. We need a crash course. Don't know where to start. On the one hand, we know we will need to increase our prices soon, but are afraid that our customers won't accept the prices. So, should we do that, or should we rather first ask them why they buy our products and what they value about us? Or should we start with something more practical, like redesigning our website? And I really feel like that this webinar series is indeed that. It is a crash course that should give you orientation about the most important topics that you should have on your agenda, market research wise. And this is, of course, to prepare yourself for Q4, but also to be just a successful customer centric company long term.
And I'm hoping you also referred your friends to our client relations team, right? At Opinio so that they can do their market research.
Of course, of course.
But with that, I'm very, very happy. That's a very nice story, and what a coincidence that it happened so recently. So I think that's a great starting point for us to just jump right in and maybe give them the first crash course on why demographics are out and psychographics are in. Right before we start, I'm gonna now tell our great marketing team who's managing the webinar to go ahead and open up the chat. So for everyone going ahead and participating in the webinar, the chat should be open on the right hand side of the screen. So let's quickly send a message there. If you can just send a hello, we can just make sure the chat is working and you can see the message. So that's open now. You're free to use it. You're free to send us messages there throughout the webinar. There is also a Q&A feature that you'll be able to send questions in, and that should be active now as well. And you'll be able to send in any questions you have, whether anonymous or not. So now that I'm getting the confirmation that everything's active, we can go ahead and jump right in. We're starting this with identifying our target group. Now, Gabriela, we started with a thread between the four episodes that we wanted to do, and we chose psychographics as the starting point for this thread. So, why is it really our starting point, and why are we starting here?
Yeah, so we did this on purpose because, knowing the target group is the basis for everything that you do later, whether, you develop new products or set prices or work on your brand communication. All of this needs to be aligned to the understanding of your target group. And in order to do that, well, you need to know the power of demographics. So the question is, of course, why are we even talking about psychographics? Generally, we all know, this is not a surprise, that business success depends on customer behavior. And there is some very specific behavior that we actually want to evoke, right? We want our customers, our potential customers, our non-buyers, light buyers to buy our products. If they are already buying them, to buy more frequently, to buy more products. We want them to use our services, download our app, recommend our brand to their friends and family. So this is clear. And we do all of this in order to generate revenue. So, of course, to know how to leverage this behavior and how to influence this, we need to understand how customer behave, right? Why they buy the brands that they buy. So the question is, what drives customer behavior, right? What a question, Hussein.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you what my clients always tells me. It is their age. It is their gender. Is that it?
Yeah, I mean, the presentation is all about psychographics, so you might think demographics is not the case, but I totally agree and I totally know where you're coming from, right? So we often, when you think about target groups, we often think about sociodemographics, as you said, gender and age. The thing about demographic is that they don't help us predict anything. And I'm going to show you a very short but iconic example that backs up my argumentation. So, Hussein, I'm going to ask you and our wonderful audience to think about a man that is born in the late 40s, that was born and raised in the UK, that was married twice, and is wealthy. So now that you have the image of this person, I'm going to show you how this person might look like. So this person might be Ozzy Osbourne or it might be King Charles III.
Same target group, right?
Yeah, yeah. So that's the case indeed. So in terms of demographics, these two men would be actually the same person. But I think we all will agree that these two men couldn't be more different than they are actually, right?
I hope
So
so.
sorry?
I'd hope so.
Yeah. I assume, I don't know them personally, but I assume they have different lifestyles, different hobbies, different interests. Probably they buy different brands. So demographics doesn't help us here. What helps us, and we need to have something that actually describes people and also explains their behavior, is psychographics. Surprise, surprise. And at this point, I want to mention that this is not my opinion or Apinio's opinion. This is fact. This is 100 years of research, right? So they were very, much more smarter people than me who actually spent their time looking at people's behavior and trying to understand why people behave how they behave. So normally when we think about psychographics, the first thing that pops up in our minds is personality or intelligence, right? We have these very famous personality models like Big Five. So while personality and intelligence helps you to predict academic or job performance, these aspects don't help us predict brand buying behavior, right? Because brands don't speak to highly intelligent people or less intelligent people, or they don't speak to introverted people or people with high neuroticism values, right? So, as I said, we need to have something that actually predicts behavior. And indeed, thank you to every researcher, we have something like this. And tada, it's motives and attitudes.
And I think here we can give a very, very safe, huge shout out to our partners over at Kronbach, specifically Professor Juice, who I think could be watching this right now, or I hope could be watching this right now. But we'd have to give them a huge, huge shout outs for these great, great academics who have been doing this research for a long, long time that allowed us to really reach and be able to have what we call today as a psychographic analysis.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much, Hussein, for this remark. So, if somebody from Kronbach is watching, hello. As you said, they are a great partner to us. They work with us on this methodology, develop the whole methodology. I'm going to show you how it works later and talk about Kronbach a bit. If Joost, CEO of Kronbach, is here, we are very happy. Just for you to know, he's a professor of psychology, and he's, well, one of the greatest masterminds when it comes to target group analysis, segmentation, and profiling. And Kronbach is also helping us with all the heavy lifting in terms of data analysis. So, as you said, we are very happy to have them on board.
He is actually right here. He just sent us a heart in the chat. So
Okay.
a heart right back to you, Professor. So with that, no pressure, Gabriela, moving forward. Uh,
It's big footsteps, I know, so it's okay. Okay, great. So, what we've learned, motives and attitudes help us predict brand buying behavior. And now, of course, we are going to have a closer look to these two theories. So, let me start with the motives. So, we all know, we all heard about motives. Motives are inner drivers that cause a person to act in a certain way. So, the question that we want to answer here is what drives me in life? What drives our customers in their lives, right? And there was one of these famous researchers, one American psychologist who was called McClelland, who actually did a research on this in the 80s. And he found out that there are mainly three motives. We have the power motive, or what's sometimes called status. We have the achievement motive, or what we call sometimes performance. And we have the affiliation motive, right? So, people with a power motive are people who strive for control. They want to have status, influence, and power. They like to make decisions. They like to be in charge. That's why oftentimes they are in leadership positions. And they like to buy brands that actually help them feel powerful and signal their power, signal their status also outwards, right? So the brands that they buy might be, for example, designer brands with big logos because they help them to signal, right, they status. Then we have achievement or performance. So people who strive for achievement or performance like efficiency, they like efficacy, and also self optimization. So they always give 120%, and they want to achieve this success not like power people because they want to gain power and status. Achievement people do this for themselves because they want to get better. I believe all of you know some people with achievement motives. Those are people who, when they do sports, they track their times, and when they are like 5 seconds faster, they also celebrate their improvements. And when they buy brands, they like to buy brands that enable them to perform. And last but not least, we have the affiliation motive, right? So people with an affiliation motive are people who want to be liked, they want to be part of a group, they don't like to be in the spotlight like power people. They actually, when they buy brands, they like to buy brands that display everybody on eye level, brands that are very inclusive. So this would be our three motives. What we need to also mention that these motives are equally distributed in the population. They are also not correlated with the socio-demographic data. Remember, we talked about it 5 minutes ago, gender and age. However, motives are not correlated with it. You might think that people who have the power motive tend to be rather men, and women tend to rather have the affiliation motive. But this is absolutely not true, right? So, to just give you an example on these different motives, if you could think about people that you have in your environment, but let's think about three characters that we all know, right? And that would be the Harry Potter characters.
Speaking my language.
Yeah, great. I knew that you're going to love this example, Hussein. So we have three main characters: Harry, Ron, and Hermione. So Harry is the boy who became this very powerful wizard. So you might think that he is the one with the power motive. But Harry is an absolute affiliation person, right? So all that Harry wants across the entire series is to be loved, to have a family, to have friends. Actually, in every book, it's all about Harry trying to save somebody, right?
You just changed Harry Potter for me. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
look at
I'm
it in a completely different perspective.
bringing psychology into the Harry Potter series. Indeed. So Harry feels pretty uncomfortable, right, when he is addressed because of his legacy, because of his status and his name. He doesn't really like it. On the other hand, you have Ron, who comes from a big family. He's one of the 20 siblings. You might think he is an affiliation person. But Ron is the one with the power motive, right? Ron wants to have status. Ron wants to have power. You have many scenes where Ron actually shows off with the fact that he is the best friend of Harry. And he is also a lot of times jealous of Harry's success because he wants to achieve that too. And if you remember in the first part where it was the scene where Ron looked into the mirror that shows you what you want in life most. While Harry was seeing himself and his parents, Ron was seeing only himself winning the Quidditch championship, being praised, having the status that he actually wanted to have. So Ron is a power person. And I think the easiest one to guess is actually Hermione. She is an absolute achievement person, right? She is a total nerd. She's always reading books. She's always learning, but she's not doing it to gain power or status, and also not doing it for socializing, right? She's doing it for herself because she wants to become one of the smartest witches out there. So yeah, this would be like a small example to show you how it could look like in real life.
That's super interesting, Gabriela. But I think before we move on, I noticed you touched on a very interesting thing when you said it has to be an R2 of over zero point 0.5. And I was wondering if maybe you could guide us a little bit through of what an R2 of over zero point 0.5 actually means.
Definitely. Thank you for bringing up that, Hussein. I almost forgot. So you can see this the sentence there explains behavior with R2 over zero point 0.5. So R2 is a statistical measurement that tells us something about variance in people's behavior. So, we all have variance in our behavior. We love some brands, we hate some brands, towards some brands, we don't really have an opinion, right? And this measurement actually tells us that the motives, the three that you can see here, can actually explain 50% or more in variance of the variance in people's behavior. And this is a lot, trust me. So it's really a very good theory, or part of the theory. We are going to talk about attitudes in a couple of minutes that helps you to explain why people behave how they behave.
That's super interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And, to show our audience how it could look like in real life, and, to put this theory into exercise, we actually prepared a small exercise for our audience. Don't worry, it's actually very simple, very short. We are going to show you three different ads, so three different use cases, and I'm going to ask you to guess which motive does this ad speak to. So you only have three options. It's either power, or it's either achievement or affiliation.
That sounds super nice. I guess we can go ahead and signal to the amazing Zena who's working with us in the background to go ahead and activate the first poll. So, Gabriela, which motive does this ad speak to? And we're seeing the Samsung Galaxy Watch 6 ad. So, for everybody, you can go ahead and select the answer you think fits most. That's super interesting. I think I'm not gonna bias everybody.
Let's, let's,
I'm not gonna
let's
say
wait
like
for 10 more seconds.
sounds good.
I'm not sure if we can actually see the results.
We could.
Okay,
So if you
great.
haven't voted yet, there's a poll section on the right hand side of where you watch. I keep pointing, but I always have this fear that it's gonna be on the other side of where I'm pointing. But I'm 90% sure it's there. So if you click over there, you'll be able to see the poll and participate.
Okay,
There we go.
great. Yeah, so 95% of you said achievement, and I say absolutely correct. Very good job, guys. So this ad is absolutely about achievement, right? I told you earlier, achievement people like performance, they want to track their performance, they are all about sufficiency and sufficacy. So in the middle of the ad, you can see this watch with many KPIs where you can track your performance and your KPIs. You can also see these different zones, from zone 1 where somebody is taking a light walk to zone 5 when somebody's running for their lives. So it's actually showing you the progress that you want to see, an achievement person wants to see when they buy this product. It's also backed up with this headline, get in the zone, make every word count. So again, it's about sufficiency. Whatever you do, make sure that when you have a workout, make it count. So absolutely an achievement ad. Okay, let's go for the second one. Again, the same, very same options: power, achievement, or affiliation.
Hmm. Someone gets it. Look on the light side.
Should be also pretty straightforward, but I don't want to spoil anybody.
Listen, I think I just got a message that I've actually been pointing to the wrong side this entire time. So,
Okay,
so
interesting.
I'm not gonna be biasing anybody with anything. Okay, so the
Okay,
poll
great.
is right there, apparently, not right there. Unless someone is messing with me right now, then I don't even know at this point. But it should be right there.
Okay, great.
Nice.
100% affiliation. Okay, I can see you really listen to what I told you, because absolutely this is about affiliation. You can see two people, two women that are on eye level, so there's nobody in the spotlight. They are hugging each other. They are happy that the other is there. And this is backed up by the headline, Someone Gets It. So it tells you, okay, there is someone who will understand you whatever you do, right? So they always be somebody there for you. You can strive for belonging. So this is absolutely affiliation. Okay, last but not least, let's move towards the last one. Is it power, achievement, or affiliation?
I'm getting strong vibes from this one.
Okay.
So it has to be, right? It has to be.
So it's working well. It exactly. It tells us something about Hussein's motives because he feels addressed. Okay, you are absolutely right. It's power. You can see this handsome man in the spotlight, and with his gestures and with his posture and mimic, he's signaling you power. He's signaling you status and influence, right? You can also see the headline "Success Beyond the Game." So it's telling you, if you want to be like this guy, if you want to have success and power also beyond the game, just buy this product and you will feel and look like this guy. So absolutely a power ad. Okay, that was the last one. Thank you very much, Hussein, and also our lovely audience for participating on this. Um, just a sneak peek, we are going to have another exercise a bit later, but you did a very good job, so you don't need to worry about anything. But yeah, let's recap. So we have our motives, but probably it's good to have the three categories, but probably you would say, okay, three is maybe still a bit broad to describe and explain people's behavior. And that's why we are adding actually a second construct. And this time it's the attitudes. So, attitudes describe the way we like to make decisions or argue for decisions, and also the type of arguments that we are more receptive to. For example, when somebody tries to convince us of something or a brand tries to sell us a product. So, attitudes were researched by another famous American psychologist. This time it was Triandis. And he found out that attitudes explain another about 30% or more in the variance of people's behavior. He also found out that there are three different attitudes. You have emotionality, rationality, or action, what we sometimes call habitual attitudes. So let me start with emotionality. So people who have emotional attitudes make their decisions based on their gut feeling or out of enthusiasm. Sorry. So when you ask them why they buy a certain brand, they would be telling you something like, "Oh, I like the brand," or "This brand makes me feel good." On the other hand, you have the total opposite. You have the rational people who are very cognitive, right? They make decisions based on purposeful thinking and action. So if you ask them why they buy the certain brands, they would say something like, "Oh, because it has a lot of vitamins and it has natural ingredients and it's gluten free." So they would be giving you the hard facts and arguments. Last but not least, you have the action people or habitual people who have a tendency towards proven methods. So they like to stick to products or methods that they already tried out and worked for them very well. And they are also very much receptive to social proof. So if they bought a product, they would be telling you something like, "Oh, this is just a product that people buy," or it's a good product to buy, right? So this would be the theory again, Hussein. Let's do the second exercise I already mentioned. It works the very same way. We are going to show you three different ads. This time, please guess which attitude does the particular ad speak to. Again, you have only three options: emotionality, rationality, or action. So I'm going to ask Sina. to start a poll again and our audience to have a look at this ad and tell me which attitude does this ad speak to.
To redeem myself, the polls are right here on that side.
Okay. Hussein, do you have any vibes regarding this ad?
Well, it seems like they're trying to touch on memory. So memory leads to sort of habits, I would say.
Okay, okay.
Working from that, they're trying to show that Heinz is present everywhere. And now I'm just saying random things until everybody participates, and there we go. Wow.
Okay.
Okay. Mixed crowd. Mixed crowd.
Indeed, mixed crowd. Okay, so while still about a little bit more than the majority of our audience thinks that it's actions, there are some people who thinks it's rather emotionality. So in this case, we are actually talking about action, or this ad is speaking to habitual people, as you mentioned correctly, Hussein. If you read the headline, it's saying we asked people to draw ketchup, they drew Heinz, right? So it has this aspect of social proof. If you ask your grandma, your sister, your neighbor how ketchup looks like, they will tell you it looks like Heinz, right? And it also has this tendency towards proven methods. Heinz worked anytime. It was a good ketchup in the past. It's now. It always will be a good ketchup, right? So it's indeed, in this case, the action attitude.
It would be interesting because when faced with things such as action versus emotionality in this case, one could say this was sort of, if you look at it, you could say, okay, where do I fall here? So I'm very interested to see in what a full on emotional targeted ad would look like. So I'm hoping we have an example.
Yeah, we definitely will have an example. I'm going to ask you now, what do you think now? So is it this time emotionality or rather rationality or action?
Forget rooftop bars. What if I don't want to? Air traveled, engineered around you.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Um, Maybe if I could read the little text there at the bottom, but
Oh,
my
you
eyes
don't need to.
are bad. Okay.
It's
Oh,
on purpose the way how it
you
is.
could you could have just let me have it and say that I could have known the right answer if I could read. Okay. Again, mixed reactions from the
Yeah.
crowd.
Yeah, again. However, now I would say it's a bit more clear that it is indeed emotionality. You said that, right? There are no like everything that's written, it's very small because you shouldn't be actually reading that, right? What you should be is imagine this feeling that you get. So you
Mhm.
can see this guy sitting aeroplane in a plane. He's having his drink, looking out of the window, witnessing this very beautiful, rare moment, right? So I can almost feel holding this drink and this light that's blending me because I'm seeing this beautiful sunset, and this is the indeed what the ad wanted to achieve. You also said forget the rooftop bars. So it's not telling you, okay, fly with Lufthansa because we have the best service or we have the best drinks or whatever. It's telling you if you want to feel like this guy, you don't need to go to a rooftop bar. Just fly with us. It's so easy. So it's absolutely about evoking this nice emotion. Okay, Hussein. So I have the last one. Again, same question. Um, is it emotionality, rationality, or action?
Maybe she was born with it.
Maybe, maybe.
But maybe it's Maybelline, you know? That speaks to the power of slogans.
Mhm.
Okay.
So if we were to look at the power, or because you mentioned power, it definitely speaks to power people also. But if we look at the attitudes, very correct. It speaks to rational people. This ad is giving you so many arguments to buy it, right? It says you can use it all day. It gives you relentless perfection. You have a no caking. You have all these different colors that you can use. It's or also showing you how you would look like if you didn't use this product. So it's absolutely speaking to those people who like to have arguments.
That's really nice, and I think that was right there in front of us. I would say we got a question a couple minutes ago that I think I was waiting for the perfect time for us to address. So maybe we could ask Zina to pull up the question in the Q&A section that we have here, so that everyone in the audience can see it. And the question is: Are motives and attitudes correlated when using these methods? And I can see that the professor already went ahead and gave a little hint. But Gabriela, I'll give the floor to you.
Yeah. So yours, obviously, he's absolutely right. Right. So there are some correlation, but they are really, really, really small, so we can actually neglect them. And this is absolutely a very good question, because if motives and attitudes are not correlated, we can do a very, very important thing that we will need to do for our target group analysis. And we can mix those two, right? We can combine those two. And if we combine motives and attitudes, we get this grid of 9 segments. So, yeah, I hope I answered the question. I think so, Hussein.
I think you definitely did. And if we have any more questions, please feel free to use the Q&A, which I'm hoping the section is also right there. But at this point, come on, find it. But with that, let's go ahead and talk about these behavioral drivers.
Yeah, definitely. So we have this. Sorry, it was just not spoiling anyone. So we have the customer psychographics, right? What we actually have done is that we measure the psychographics of every single participant in our opinion panel. We did this with this questionnaire. It has about 40 questions, and you probably know it from other tests, where we show you a word and we ask you how much it fits to yourself. And as I mentioned earlier, we developed this with our great partner Kronbach. So we have the psychographic measurement for all of our panelists. What we then do is we pair it with the measured affinity for a certain brand or product. So we expose the participants to whatever we want to find out, right? Whether it's a preference for a brand or a product. And I think all of you know these questions. These are questions I see in many, many surveys. So it could be a question like, how much do you like this brand? And you would get an output like this, so a rating scale. And you see that there are some people that are on top who love your brand, and there are some people more down there who hate your brand. And because we have the tendency to the middle, most of the people will be in the middle. So now what we want to understand is what drives the people to be up there, to give the best rating. So is there something in their psychographic profiles that makes them give this rating? And what we then do when we compare, or when we combine, sorry, these two, we do it some, yeah, very complex statistical analysis that I don't want to bother with. But in the end, the output is a correlation between psychographics and preference. So the output is usually presented in this very fancy heat map. And question is, if you see it probably for the first time, how can we interpret this, right? So Hussein, very basically, the more color you see, the more red color you see, the more activation there is. And the more activation there is, the more psychographics drives people's behavior. So in this case, for this heat map, we can see that the more someone is an achievement person and at the same time a rational person, the more they like the brand. So this brand is speaking primarily to achievement people in the way how they structure their products, how they communicate their brand, how they present themselves. we can see that they are not actually speaking to affiliation people because there's not so much. So I'm not sure if I'm showing it correctly, but on the right side, you don't see so much color. And on the right button, you can see that there's almost no activation for habitual affiliation people. Yeah, okay. So now let's have a look where we can actually use this psychographic target group analysis. And I want to tell you that this methodology is a very universal methodology that can be applied for many, many use cases. It actually depends on what's most interesting to you and what are your pain points. So you can use it for strategy to understand which type of people are the easiest to convert, what drives your customers or your competitors' customers. Who is your strongest competitor in terms of you are speaking to the same psychographic profile? Of course, you can use it for product development. I think it's very helpful to understand, okay, which benefits could be particularly effective in convincing some customers and differentiating us from others, or what product or service attributes are our customers looking for? What do they like? Besides that, we can, of course, use it also for media creation to understand what kind of words or imagery these people actually enjoy, what needs to be my storyline in order to convince them. Of course, when you have some advertisement, you also want to, distribute it somewhere and address the people there. So we can also use it to find out what media channels can be used for marketing, whether it's online or offline. And of course, last but not least, we can use it also for customer experience to understand how can we keep our customers engaged, how can we prevent them from churning, or if they already churned, how can we reactivate them.
So throughout the entire research cycle, psychographics can help us get better answers.
Definitely, that's the big perks of this method.
Hmm.
So, Hussein, I was thinking maybe it would be helpful for you and our audience to see how it would look like if we did the study for one of our customers or one company. And I thought maybe we could use actually an example that you told me about. So, last time that we spoke, I don't know if you remember, you
Getting nervous.
I'm not telling that, don't worry. Uh, so last time we speak, you told me about this new video streaming platform
Mhm.
that you are
Yeah.
now trying out and obviously became a fan of. And I thought maybe we could indeed use this example and have a look how the target group analysis would look like if this video streaming provider actually approached us and said, "Okay, let's do this."
That's super, super interesting. To give a little context to our audience, I was super, super happy with this new streaming service. And I was always wondering, like, me as a 20-year-old something male, come September, I am personally a sucker for Hallmark and Christmas movies. I love those little comedies. I love those little romances. I love everything about those. But the only ads I get are always for action movies, guns, death, all that sort of thing. So I was wondering, okay, so obviously demographics in this case are not working. How can psychographics gear me towards the cheesy things that I like? So Gabriela, thank you very much. Let's dive right into it. What do you have for me?
Yeah, let's have a look. So, the first thing that we would do if this video streaming provider actually approached us, we would actually have a look at the product category. So, that would be in this case the video streaming market. Based on this example, we can see that the people who actually consume video streaming or watching movies or series on video streaming platforms are mainly power people with habitual or rational motives. So, at the second point, what we would be doing is having a look at your brand and the competitor. So we can see that your brand is also speaking to habitual people, but it's mostly speaking to achievement habitual people and not the power habitual people. The brand has also some load on emotionality, what we can see in the top. And the competitor, if you look at the competitor, he's speaking mainly to the habitual people, and the highest activation is actually for achievement habitual people. So the good news is, okay, we are targeting some people that are drawn to the category, but we have a blind spot for power rational people because we can see that actually the product category sits there, but neither we nor the competitor is targeting those people. So maybe we should have a look at that. So if your video streaming provider decided to develop a new product in order to address them, we could test also that, right? So you can see the new product that we developed. We ran the analysis for the new product, and we can say, good job, video streaming provider. There is a much higher overlap than before. We can see that with this new product, we are targeting more power rational people. And so we are actually capturing the attention also of these people. It definitely makes sense to test this against the competitors. So we would do this also for the others in the market. And we can see that they are all either addressing the rational and habitual people with power motives or achievement motives, except for competitor C, who is also addressing the affiliation motive. So as I said, good job, but keep in mind we are, as we can see, in strong competition with the others. So in order to differentiate ourselves, what we could do is to do it with some attributes, some product services that we add. Our power rational people that we want to achieve actually like us more than the competitors. We would do something like this. So we would look at features that are important for the product category for a specific segment. So, for example, for the power rational people, we could see that they want to see a very attractive, eye catching, sexy platform that is also promoted by some influencers and celebrities. We have this information for every single segment and for a lot of product categories. We know what's important for them when they shop online or offline, what their interests, their hobbies, everything. So we have a lot of information on that. Okay, so far clear, Hussein?
So far, so good. I'm loving this.
Great. Then let's move to another one. So now we have our product, we need to advertise it. So what we do, of course, we need to decide what kind of images we use, what kind of words. And what we've actually done is that we tested hundreds of stock photos and correlated it with the psychographic profiles. So we could find out if there are any specific photos, any specific imaginary that speak to the specific segments, the psychographic profiles. And indeed, this is the case. So here you can see the images that speak to power rational people. They are all about, if you have a look at them, about power, about leadership. The one that's working the best is this man conducting an orchestra, because this is a very archetypical power rational move, right? So if we were to design an ad for power rational people, we should be using, some very strong imaginary images. We should be using aspects like exclusivity, straightforwardness. We should be putting one person in the spotlight, showing some strong visual elements, shooting it from his perspective, and should be using like reduced scheme colors. We shouldn't be using like very soft, cozy pastel colors because power rational people would hate this. that we can use maybe for affiliation people, but not here. So we can give you very specific guidelines what images and words and storylines you should use for your ads. If you have this, of course, you want to target your target groups. And what we can do is to tell you where you can actually target them. So we can tell you if they rather use online or offline channels. If they use offline channels, is it more TV or radio or magazines? If they are reading magazines, should you advertise in a financial magazine? Should you advertise in National Geographic, in Vogue, whatever? So very specific detailed information. You can modulate also these target groups in the Google Manager and the Media Audience Manager. There's a screenshot that you can see here. So we can really help you also with that.
Gabriela, I almost wonder what would this look like in a real world research project? So if I ran a research and I was expecting the results, how would I sort of know what can I do with the psychographic profiles, or how can I know which psychographic profile answered what?
Yeah, very good question, Hussein. So, if we were to run this study, first thing that we would do, we would run these heat maps that you saw earlier, and then we would sit down with you and have a look at the different target groups and have a look and talk to you, discuss with you which target groups are the most interesting, right?
Hmm.
And then once we decided for the target groups, we would create these handbooks I talked about earlier. This is really like a book, so 100 charts, very specific, detailed information on all of this that I already mentioned. So what content your target groups consume, where you can address them on which media channels, what are their hobbies, lifestyles, values, and so on. So let me just quickly show you how it also might look like. I wanted to definitely show you this slide. We got some screenshots from our one and only Director of Research, Louise. So, Louise, if you're listening,
Huge shout out to our captain.
yeah. So we are continuously developing these handbooks, and what we did for one of our lovely customers is we created these mood boards and persona profiles that are based on the target groups. We also created these AI generated videos that really helps you to get a feeling who is your target group, what their typical day looks like. So you can also really use these results in your everyday work.
Wow, and also I want to give a huge shout out to our amazing research team, who's always working very hard on producing this type of content to make it easily digestible, easily understandable, and making psychographics so much closer to becoming sort of the new norm in how we make decisions.
Definitely. Okay, Hussein, so should we have a look at the dashboard?
Do we have a dashboard?
Yeah, we definitely have a dashboard. I sent you a link, so maybe you could open it to show.
Oh, I see that now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I love surprises.
full of surprises, yes. So I just wanted to show our audience quickly how it would look like. So, as I said in the beginning, the target group analysis is the basis for everything that you do later. So, is Hussein's favorite streaming service decided to run an ad test for an ad they created for the Christmas time. They would, of course, run it with opinion, and this is how it would look like. So if you scroll down to the ad questions, maybe let's start with that. We would use, for example, a heat map. We would ask you some questions about the advertising. How do you like it? How much do you agree to different statements, and so on. And then what you could do is you saw the filters at the top, if you can show it again. You can have a look how these questions perform with the different motives and attitudes, so the different psychographic profiles that we have in our panel, right? Exactly. So you could split the whole dashboard, all the results, with these motives or attitudes and could have a look, okay, am I addressing the people who I want to address? So if I wanted to address power rational people, do they indeed like the ad more than people with other motives or attitudes? So you can do any kind of ad hoc testing that you like. This is everything possible. And also here, shout out to our wonderful product team who's working every day on this great dashboard that you're showing, Hussein.
That's absolutely really, really nice. Thank you so much for providing this dashboard. I always love showing practical examples of how things actually look like in the real world and how you can get this psychographics data to make better decisions. Gabriela, if you don't mind, we have more questions in the Q&A segment
Yeah.
that I wanted for us to get to in the time that we sort of have left. And the first one being, do the profiles correlate with certain demographics, thinking about gender in particular?
Very good question. They do not. So this is the perks of the motives and attitudes, that they don't correlate either with gender or with age or any other socio-demographic information. So there's no correlation there.
Sounds good. Another question is, can you tell which brand product we tested with? And I think that was dummy data that you prepared based on my on what I told you. So that's pretty great. Gabriela, ready for the journey? I guess we're ready. We're ready for what's next. Gabriela, thank you very much for joining me and introducing me and our audience to psychographics and the psychographic target group analysis. Our next step in Get Holiday Ready is The Price is Right. Is it though? We're going to be talking all about pricing methods, finding optimal pricing, and how to find that sweet spot in pricing methods. I'll be joined by the amazing expert lead for advanced methods, Vea, who will be with me for the next webinar. Until then, Gabriela, thank you once again very much. Thank you to everyone who attended this video cast. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Gabriela and I at any point. We'd be happy to answer them. We're nerds of market research, so you can reach us on LinkedIn, on our emails, anywhere, and we'd be happy to sit there and just talk through any market research related queries you may have. Gabriela, thanks for a third time, and till next week, everybody.
Thank you. Bye bye, Hussein.